Hey there, everybody. I'm Steve Dodge. I'm going to be joined by Matt Kruger from UDisc. We're going to go live in about a minute. We're going to give people a couple of minutes to get into the chat, and then we're going live. So be right back. 1 minute. All right. So those of you who are watching this after the fact, go ahead and hit fast forward like 7 times to get through that little dead spot there. So the first thing I want to do is say thank you all for tuning in. The goal today is to go through the player responsibilities for keeping score at the Memorial Championship presented by Discraft. The goal that we have for this for the scoring at the Memorial is to have every MPO and FPO player have complete and accurate scores and statistics. The way we're going to do this, and I'm just going to read through the email here and then we'll take questions. The way we're going to do this, we're going to ensure the scores are accurate by comparing the paper scorecard to the UDisc Live scoring app at the end of each round. Any discrepancies that will be corrected before the cards are officially turned in. Additionally, we'll create player stats from the throws that are entered into the UDisc Live scoring app. These stats are obviously used by the media, the players, the fans, and statistical analysis of the courses and players so we can improve the courses in the next year. So basically, what's going to happen, everybody's going to keep score on the paper scorecard just like they always do. And additionally, someone else will be keeping score in the UDisc Live app. And we're going to get into that later with Matt Kruger from UDisc, exactly how that happens. So right now you keep score on a paper scorecard for 4 or 5 holes. Additionally, you'll keep score in the UDisc Live scoring app for 4 or 5 holes. At the end of the round, the two are compared. And if there's discrepancies, you figure out where they are. The scorecard just keeps track of your score. The UDisc Live scoring app keeps track of each particular throw. So at the end, those two should match. Couple of things to be aware of. The Pro Tour will be providing smartphones for every card to use on the live scoring. You won't have to use your own phone. Actually, we don't want you to use your own phone. That can easily be a distraction. Players can bring a caddy or a scoring friend to keep score for them. And if they want, they can keep score for the whole group the entire round. So we encourage you, bring a caddy or bring a scoring friend to help you keep score so you don't have to think about that if that's something that's going to get into your head. Players can download the UDisc Live app. I sent an email out a couple of weeks ago. There's a link there, or you can just go on to the App Store and download UDisc Live. It's a orange square with a white U in it. And you can use code 123 as the test version of it, so you can actually test it out and use it for a round or so. One other thing, there were concerns about whether or not people would be keeping score while they're playing a hole. The answer to that is no. All of the scoring will be done on the tee of the next hole. So you'll play the hole completely, and then you go to the tee of the next hole, just like you always do. And Matt and I would demonstrate the process and how it's going to be adjusted. But so all of the scoring, just like it's done now, all of the scoring will be done on the tee of the next hole. So extras. So as a thank you, players, MPO and FPO players at the Memorial and all Pro Tour events will receive a free year of UDisc Pro as a thank you for participating and helping out with this. And we will have a UDisc scoring assistant at the tee of hole 2, who in fact will be Matt, who we'll see in just a minute, to assist in scoring the very first hole, just in case there's any confusion at all. He'll be able to tell you the process, or remind you of the process, because you are watching this, you obviously already know the process. basically, we're going to do everything we can to make people aware that this is happening and to make this as easy as possible. Overall advantages, actually, before we won't even get into that, we'll close with that. So with that, I'm going to go to Matt over in UDisc headquarters, and Matt will say hello, welcome us to the app, do a quick walkthrough, and then he and I will go through some sample scoring. So Matt is going to be on screen with his face and his app soon, and then hopefully you'll still be able to hear my voice. Here we go to Matt.
Hello. Hello. Is it working? All right, hi everybody. I'm Matt Kruger. I'm from UDisc, and I'm kind of here just to show you how to keep score and how the app works. So I want to clear up a couple of just kind of points. First of all, if you haven't seen the app before, nobody's actually keeping stats. You're actually just entering where your disc landed each time that you threw, which actually makes it very simple for you. You don't have to think about, was that a green hit, or was that a fairway hit or whatever. You just have to know where the disc landed. And that's one of the things that's made this really easy to do. But it's also one thing that having you guys do it yourselves will make the stats more accurate, because you know if your putt was in circle 1 and you know if your putt was in circle 2 every single time. Whereas if you have a volunteer doing it, sometimes they're a little bit too far away to tell if you're 2 inches behind the circle 1 line or whatever that might be. So one of the big reasons for doing this is so that we can make sure that your stats are completely accurate. So with that said, I'm going to give you a quick demo of how scoring actually works in the app. So let me share my screen. All right, hopefully you can see this. So first of all, you'll want to download the UDisc Live app. Let's see here. Okay, yep, like Steve said, we'll be providing phones for you all to use, but if you want to try this out ahead of time, you can feel free to do that on your own phone. Just go get the UDisc Live app from the App Store, and you'll be able to log in with code 123. So I'm just going to try that right here. All right, so you'll see got a kind of a fake scorecard that I made for you guys to try out. So once you're in here, you're just going to hit Begin Scorecard. And of course, it'll tell you kind of a brief overview of how to score. And so the big difference here between this and a normal scorecard is you're not just writing down a 3 or a 4 or a 2. You're actually having to enter one piece of data for each throw that you took. And so in that case, the way you want to think about your hole is where your disc landed on each throw. Okay, so if your disc landed, here, let's just go through an example. So let's say, we got Tiger up first here. So let's say you finish the hole, you walk to the next tee, and let's say that Tiger parked the hole and made a drop in 2, okay? So you're going to hit the plus button. His first shot landed in circle 1, okay? His second shot landed in the basket. And then it's going to ask you kind of a range of your putt. So in this case, since you got a tap in, we're just going to put 0 to 11 feet. And then one thing I want to point out while we're in here to make this even faster for you, if you click on the settings icon up here, you can enable fast scoring, which is something that I recommend all of you do since you're all going to be scoring after the hole. On the Pro Tour phones, we'll do our best to have this enabled already. But if it gets turned off or something, you can always do that. The other thing here is there's a lot of people, and I'm one of them, I don't want to see my overall score until I'm done with the round. So we have an option here to hide your overall score. So if you're somebody that's like that and you don't want to know what you're at, but you want to keep entering scores, feel free to do that. For now, we'll leave it on though. So let's say that Yoshi here, a little bit more complicated example. Let's say that Yoshi goes OB on his first shot. So you're going to hit that plus button. Where does his first shot land? Well, it landed OB. Now, in this case, we have to tell it where the drop zone is, which is the one exception to the normal rule. So let's say the drop zone on this hole is in the fairway. And let's say the next shot, he parks it. So he lands in circle 1. And then he makes his putt. So that's a little bit harder example. Let's do kind of a normal example. So let's say that your first shot lands in the fairway. Your second shot, you landed in circle 2. And then let's say you made a long circle 2 putt, okay? So first shot, you landed in the fairway. Then your next shot, you landed in circle 2. And then your third shot, you landed in the basket. And then you just have to pick the range of your putt. So let's say it was a nice long one. We'll say this was Ricky or somebody, Ricky Luigi.
Matt, are you able to hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Hopefully everybody else can too. So I'm going to play the role of Mario and just say my score, and in the way that we would hope that people would get used to saying their score. So Matt's keeping score for our card. We're on the tee of the next hole, and Matt says, "Steve, what'd you get?"
What'd you get, Steve?
I got fairway, circle 2, circle 1, circle 1, 20-foot putt.
Perfect. And most of you guys are not going to be getting 5s, so it's going to be a lot simpler than that. I guess, yeah, the main thing is you need to think in terms of where did your shot land every single time. So you're not just thinking 2s and 3s now. You have to kind of replay your hole. And this is actually, we found that this is actually kind of good in many different ways. If you're like me, there's been a time where you hit a tree, right away, and then you had to fight your way out or something, and you get to the end of the hole and you maybe forgot about that first bad throw, and you're like, oh, I got a 4, and then, oops, actually I got a 5. When you do it this way, where you actually have to think shot by shot, where did your disc land? That kind of thing is way less likely to happen. So in this case, it's just a good thing overall. Not only you'll still be keeping score on paper, so somebody will be writing down 3, 4, 2, whatever, and then at the end we'll be able to compare all of that. And you probably saw what I just did here. So to get to the next hole, you can swipe, or you can click on the little numbers at the bottom here, and that's how you score a hole. And the other thing to point out, when you finish the hole, you should see this blue thing at the top that says all players are complete. If you forgot to hole somebody out, and you go to the next hole, you're going to see this big red banner that says scores are missing. So if you see that, just go back, make sure that everybody's in the basket, and then you should be good to go.
Thank you very much, Matt. So the next thing that I want to do, if anybody has any questions or comments or criticisms or things that they think they're great about this is the time to enter it in the chat, and then Matt and I will reply to those comments as they come in. Thank you very much to Loki for starting us with that into this section. Great segue, Loki. Loki writes, it sounds like backups on certain holes are going to be more backed up. In reality, that is not going to be the case. A backup on a hole is caused because people are playing the hole slowly, not because they're sitting on the tee keeping score. Everybody's going to take about an extra 20 to 40 seconds to keep score on the tee. So if there happens to be a 2-card backup on a tee, when you get there, you'll keep your score. You'll do your 20 to 40 seconds to write it down and enter it in UDisc. And while you're doing that, the other guys are playing the hole in front of you. In fact, it might actually, well, it's only taking an extra 20 seconds, so it's not really a significant deal anyway. But in fact, it's not going to add any time to your weight. Your weight is going to be your weight, just like it always was. Mike Conley, much thanks for providing phones. I think this was the biggest barrier to players scoring via UDisc. Agreed. That was a significant investment. Huge shout out to Matt and Josh over at UDisc for helping to make that a hurdle that I was able to overcome. Mike Conley, we want to make it as easy as possible. UDisc says that. Thank you, Matt or Josh. You're right. So some of the advantages that are going to come from this, scoring errors will be a thing of the past. Whether people recognize it or not, Ricky Wysocki actually lost 4 strokes at last year's Memorial. When you lose a tournament by 1 or 2 or 3 strokes, that's a pretty big deal. Those scoring errors would have been caught if this system had been in place. So now the system is in place, and scoring errors will be a thing of the past. When 2 scores are compared at the end of the round, discrepancies will be seen. If someone has a 54 on the scorecard and they have a 53 on UDisc, you just go hole by hole and find the difference, and then you figure out which of the 2 is correct. So everybody has a fair playing field. If we only did this for the top half of the cards, for example, the people in the bottom half who don't have UDisc live scoring as well as the paper scorecard are actually at a disadvantage because they don't have this extra check on their scores. So it's a fair playing field, and scoring errors are a thing of the past. Additionally, we will have much more accurate, not much more, we have more accurate statistics throughout the season. And additionally, we'll have them for every player. In addition to what Matt said earlier, which is, if you're in circle 1 or circle 2, and the distance of your putt, and you don't have to have another person off to the side asking, was that a 50-foot putt or was that a 40-foot putt? You can just say what it was. So the stats will be more accurate, and we'll have stats for every player. And what that does, it helps out with our analysis after the tournament, where we can look at holes and say, okay, hole 1 was playing a little hard, hole 3 was playing a little easy, and make adjustments based on statistics for the entire field. So last year we had 60% of MPO players and about 80% of FPO players had their stats for the entire season, or for each round, I should say. This year, those numbers are going to go up close to 100%, and we're not going to have any errors with our scores. So I'm going to go over here and check to see any questions. Chris Gilbert, does this replace paper scorecards? It does not replace paper scorecards. In fact, paper scorecards are still the official scorecard. What we're doing is we're adding an additional double check on top of that. Bruce Weathers, my question to Chris. Maybe that means my question's same as Chris's. Will this feature be on the regular UDisc app? That's a question for Matt. Matt, are you there?
I am here. Yes, it will be by the end of the year for sure. We already have it mostly done. We just need a little bit more testing, and got to get through a couple of these events.
We do have to get through a couple of these events. Okay, so that's a very good news. This will be a regular UDisc feature, be a part of the regular UDisc scoring app. Bruce Weathers, why not make it that way for all? I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you mean all tournaments? If so, we're running the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We're worried about Disc Golf Pro Tour tournaments. We want to make sure that they are as fair as possible. Doing this for, say, all 4,000 or 5,000 PDGA events, that's a really big undertaking, and that's a different kettle of fish to fry, so to speak. Bruce, if you want to clarify that question, please go ahead. Barney Davis, this sounds amazing. Great work, UDisc. Thank you very much. You're correct, Barney. The UDisc guys are absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen, I don't even know if they've released it yet, but if you haven't seen the UDisc live page, you should go there and get ready. I got goosebumps when I looked at it. Disc golf, the pro side of disc golf is taking off right now, and we're really happy to be partnering with the quality guys over there at UDisc.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I show one more thing quick?
Only if I share your screen. Here we go.
I'll have to share my screen, actually. Yeah, so while we're on the topic of UDisc Live, I just want to show you guys one more thing that's going to help make this a little bit better for everybody. So one of the reasons that we do this is because there's a lot of fans out there that want to watch the pros play. They love following you guys. We have hundreds of thousands of people watching these scores and stats during the events. So while you're entering that stuff, it's updating on the website within a second or two. And that's why it's so cool for people to watch real time. And something that we want to do this year, we actually just added this yesterday. We have the ability for you guys to add information to your profiles on your own so that we can keep things up to date. So like, let's say, so if you want to do this, go to udisclive.com, click on players at the top, and then you can just search for your name here. So let's go to AJ Risley. So I search for AJ. You'll notice on his profile page, we've got this update button right here. So if you click on that, you can actually go edit his hometown, his year, his favorite discs. You can put your Instagram feed or your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed or whatever you want on here so that your fans can follow you. You can also update your pictures. You can drag stuff into here to upload or do it from your phone or whatever you like. And the reason for this is so that you guys can keep your profiles up to date so that your fans know where to find you. I think that's one of the biggest things that we added this year that we're really excited about.
That is very exciting, Matt. The one question that I would have is how do you make sure that I don't go in and change AJ Risley's information?
Yep. So you have to put your email in, and we're going to make sure that if you are that person that will let you update it. Otherwise, anybody can update it. So that's the nice thing. We will let anybody submit things, but it has to be approved by us. So this isn't instant. We'll actually be reviewing all the submissions that come in. But the main thing is, there's a lot of people out there that may be affiliated with a certain player, or, if a sponsor wants to go through and update all their players, this is just a central place to do it so that we don't have to, ask people like, hey, can you go update this, or ask for a spreadsheet of information. It'll just be a little bit easier for everybody involved. And the biggest thing, I think, for people to be able to add their social media streams on here will be pretty cool for people. If you really want to follow AJ, you want to watch all the waffles that he's eating, click on his Instagram feed and you can go check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. I didn't know that AJ was a fan of waffles.
Well, you do now.
You do now, exactly. So moving on, Bruce Weathers asked, can we add automatic distance tracker for drives off of the tee? Not yet, but maybe the UDisc guys will be working on that in a future update. Actually, I think there is a way to do that in UDisc, but we don't have it yet for what we're working on for the Pro Tour. I agree. Get yours down and on others. Yes, Rick, that is Terry Miller. He's actually voxing me. If he was boxing me, he'd be on the floor, obviously. And Bruce Weathers, why not have scoring for all players in the tournament instead of just a few cards? I assume you mean, well, we actually will have scoring utilizing the UDisc Live app, as we're talking about, for the MPO and FPO divisions. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is focused on the MPO and FPO divisions, so that is what we are focusing on. AM divisions, Masters divisions, that's a can of a different color, and that's something that I'll let the tournament directors and the PDGA and UDisc all discuss if they want to get into doing that across each of those divisions. And in years to come, my guess is the answer is going to be yes, but we have to start somewhere, and this is where we are starting. JD says, I like the idea of this. There was some tourneys last year that my kids was wondering what I was doing on the course, and I didn't have a UDisc scorekeeper. Absolutely. As Matt pointed out, many people will be able to share what you do basically in real time. As Barney says, it'll help people get more in touch with the players. So that's it from our end. This has been a really useful 25 minutes. I'll wait a couple of minutes just to see if anybody has any final questions, and we will be resending the scoring email, and I'll go ahead and add in the links to these two events, so people who didn't watch have an opportunity to go see us have these conversations. But in those emails, there are links to videos that show how to do fast scoring mode, calling out your score, fast scoring mode, keeping score after the hole. If you have a friend or a caddy that's going to keep score, we have scoring instructions for them. And then we have articles that talk about the 2018 scoring plans. It's divided up into two parts. The first part is what we did well, and the second part is what we didn't do well and how we're going to improve it. So going back, last call for questions. Nice shirt, Matt. Agreed. Thanks to Disc Store for this one. And then can Jomez, et cetera, use this information in their production? Absolutely. Theoretically, anybody can use it in any production. That's one of the significant advantages. There's a lot of media. I know Dixon Jowers, when he does his On the Box podcast, refers to the UDisc stats of the Pro Tour events all the time. Big asset for all of the media. It's available to everybody. Jomez, I suspect, is streamlining what they do and is going to make significant improvements to a product that is already amazing. Utilizing the UDisc app, UDisc stats takes a lot of time to get that information in. So we'll have to see if they're able to actually utilize those. We need to get you back on the Disc Golf Show podcast. We'd love to chat with you at the San Francisco Open as well. I don't know if he's talking to Matt or me, but either way, I'm sure we'd both be great guests. So thank you all very much. I'm going to close this off. Matt, you want to say goodbye?
Thanks for listening, everybody. You can always reach out to us if you have questions, team@udisc.com.
Fantastic. And with that, we are out. Good night, everybody.